At first, it seemed like a gift. A small silver pod landed in a schoolyard in New California, right beside the playground where children laughed under the golden sky. The teachers thought it was a drone, another delivery from one of the orbiting stations above Earth had seen strange things before. The age of fear had passed. The stars were open, and humans had been at peace with the Galactic Council for 20 years. That same day, 5 more pods landed, one in a refugee camp in northern Kenya, one beside a daycare center on Lunar Colony East, one in a Mars nursery dome, one on a beach in coastal Japan, the last in a forest retreat in northern Canada, where children of diplomats were playing beneath the pines. None of the pods exploded. None of them threatened. They simply opened like silver flowers and began to play music. Not mechanical noise, but a song. Beautiful, gentle, sweet, a sound like a mother humming to her newborn, and the children smiled at first. But one by one, their smiles faded. Then their eyes widened, their faces turned pale. And then, as one, they began to scream, not just in fear, not just in pain, but in pure soul-breaking terror. It happened across all 6 sites within moments of each other. Parents tried to calm their children. Teachers tried to pull them away, but the children could not stop. They screamed until they lost their voices, until their small bodies collapsed, till some of them stopped breathing. The silver pods melted into dust, gone as if they had never existed, and Earth fell into silence, in Unity Command beneath Antarctica's old ice. Admiral Elias Cade stood in the cold room, watching 6 screens each showing one of the affected sites. Medical teams swarmed over the fallen children. Some were being resuscitated, some ... covered. The silence in the room was thick, except for the faint echo of the recorded song that had been transmitted. He played it again, over and over, a soft, angelic lullaby. Notes that didn't match any known language. It was beautiful, too beautiful. Mara Lynn entered, breath short, her face pale. We've confirmed it's not from any known race. No council tech, no trade ship logs. It wasn't human. That's all we know. Elias didn't turn. Any survivors? Of the 183 children exposed, 78 are still alive. 36 are in critical condition. The rest ... double quotes. She paused. Their minds broke. Doctors say it's like they saw something too big, too strange. They're unresponsive. Elias finally looked at her. In the song, she swallowed. It's not just music. It's a signal. It's a message. But not for us. For them. Who? Elias asked. Mara took a breath. The children. Whatever it was, it spoke to the children first. Around the world, news broke slowly. At first, governments tried to hide it. They called it a tech failure, a radiation spike, an alien test that went wrong. But video leaked. Parents began sharing footage, screaming the song, still bodies, and people demanded answers. Who would target children? Why? What did they want? The Galactic Council responded within 24 hours. A broadcast from the Speaker of Unity declared that no known member of the Council has any connection to these acts. They offered support, investigation teams, apologies. But on Earth, something shifted. They had seen too much. They had lost too much. The peaceful era was over, in the ruins of the old United Nations building in Geneva. Now a museum. Hundreds gathered in silence as candles were lit. Photographs of the children were projected across the walls. People wept. Not just parents. It's not just families. Everyone. A child had always been sacred. Even during Earth's worst wars, there had been rules. Even monsters had limits. But someone somewhere in the stars had looked at Earth's future and tried to crush it. Not with guns. It's not with bombs. With a lullaby, and that made it worse. Elias stood before the Earth Council that night, his voice steady, his eyes cold. Behind him, screens showed medical scans of the children's brains, patterns, codes, foreign neural pulses. This was not a mistake, he said. This was a weapon. Then why a song? One leader asked, Because it was meant to bypass logic, Elias replied. To crawl straight into the mind, into the dreams, into the innocence of those not ready to protect themselves. Long silence followed. Then a voice quiet and low. Who would do this? Elias didn't hesitate. A coward or a monster. Far above Earth, in the shadow of the moon, an old satellite blinked to life. Not one built by humans, but one watching them. A machine made of black crystal and living metal. Hidden since before Earth joined the stars, it had been silent for decades, forgotten even by the ones who built it. But now it sent a message, not to the Council, to something deeper, older, out there. Test complete. Phase 1, successful. Response pending. Somewhere across the galaxy, in a place with no name, a figure watched the message appear. Its eyes were white, its face long, its hands full of bones not its own. It leaned forward and whispered, "Let's see how loud the humans scream when we take away their light." But it didn't understand. It had taken the wrong thing, and it was Earth that would scream next, not in fear, but in fury. That night, parents sat by hospital beds. Some children slept, twitching and whispering things in alien tongues. Others stared at ceilings, their eyes vacant. And some did not move at all. Elias Cade stood on the rooftop of Unity Command, looking at the stars. He wasn't a poet. Wasn't a politician. Tonight he made a promise, silent, cold, and absolute. "You touched our children," he said. "Now we come for yours." And far out in space, the stars blinked, as if they knew. The war had already begun. Across Earth, silence hung like a heavy storm cloud. Not because people had no words, but because none of them made sense. The attack had no warning, no demand, no purpose that anyone could understand. It didn't take cities or armies it targeted. What humanity protected most? Their children. The images haunted every screen. Hospital rooms filled with tiny bodies hooked to machines. Parents screaming in silence, their grief too deep for words. Entire classrooms frozen in time, their laughter stolen by a sound no adult could hear, and the world changed. The markets crashed. Religious leaders begged for answers. Millions turned away from the Galactic Council and looked instead to Earth's own Unity Command. The question wasn't just who had done this. The question was now, why haven't we done something back? Unity Command's underground nerve center, deep beneath Antarctica. Elias Cade stood over a table of holoprojected data. Maps of impact zones, audio wave patterns, brain scan overlays. All of it told one truth. The attack was designed to feel like a gift, to get close, to invite trust. But beneath the melody had been a message. Not in words, in code. Complex, alien, and brutal. Mara Lynn entered, face pale but focused. The medical team found something. Neural burn. Marks only visible at quantum level, like a brand. Left in the brain itself. Elias marked like property, Elias muttered. "No," Mara said quietly. "Like warnings." He looked at her sharply. She continued. "The code isn't just data. It's a pattern, meant to echo. One child at the Mars facility started repeating it in her sleep. She's never studied alien languages, but she's speaking in something close to pre-Carnics dialect." Elias froze. "The Carnics are extinct." "They were," Mara replied, "till now." The Carnics had been one of the first races the Council ever tried to remove from history. Not because of their weapons, but because of their cruelty. They didn't conquer worlds. They corrupted them. In their time, they had lured entire planets to destruction using Promise's gifts, art, music. They offered joy, then twisted it into control. The Council's archives said they were erased after a final war 300 years ago. But now, signs of them were back, and Earth had been the test. Elias walked into the chamber of Earth's assembly, a large domed room filled with the planet's leaders, military, scientific, cultural, is no longer arguing. Now they were unified in their grief and rage. A large screen showed 6 children, still unresponsive, still glowing faintly beneath their skin. a sign of the alien code that lived inside them. Elias stepped to the center and said, "We asked ourselves the wrong question. Thought who would harm a child. We assumed no one would, that it crossed every line. But now we see. Some beings have no lines. Some don't see children as innocent. They see them as weapons." Whispers filled the chamber. Fear, horror, truth, the council. One woman asked, "Are they involved?" Elias shook his head. "No, but they're responsible." Another voice called out, "They were supposed to protect us." We're supposed to believe them?" Elias answered. "We did. And now, our children are in comas. Or worse." Silence. Then Marilyn entered with new information. "We've traced the signal from the song. It didn't come from a planet. It came from a drifting ship and registered stealth-cloaked. It was near Earth's orbit for almost 20 minutes before the pods dropped. Then it disappeared into deep space." "Where did it go?" Elias asked. "Border space," she said. "Council Edge territory, near the Karnak's exclusion zone." A cold hush spread across the room. "So they do still exist," someone whispered. Elias turned back to the assembly. This wasn't just an attack. It was a message. The Karnaks are back. They chose Earth first. He paused. "We must respond. Not with fear, not with begging, but with clarity." "What do you propose?" the president of the assembly asked. "Let's find them," Elias said, "and remind them that Earth was peaceful, by choice." At the edge of the solar system, a fleet began to move. Small ships, fast, quiet. These weren't Earth's big capital vessels, the ones the Council watched. These were Ghost-class patrols, built after the Titan Rebellion years ago, designed to be invisible. Deadly, the mission was simple. Track the signal. Find the source. Don't attack yet, but mark the enemy. Each pilot was hand-picked. Each ship carried cloaked AI drones, programmed not to fire unless directly attacked. Humanity didn't want war, but they would no longer pretend peace was real. On the other side of the galaxy, far from Earth, something stirred in the void. The Karnak's vessel floated inside a broken moon. A dark place with no light, hidden from every known chart. Inside, long corridors hummed with strange energy. Walls were covered in symbols that looked like music, etched into blood and metal. A figure stood before a massive screen showing Earth's children, watching, studying. It smiled. "They still believe innocence is a shield," it hissed. "But innocence is bait." Another figure approached. "They've sent scouts." "Let them," the first replied. "They must see what waits. For them, they must come here. They must bring the fire." A pause. "Because only then will we show them true silence." Back on Earth, Marilyn stood in the Mars Children's Ward, watching one of the few surviving girls, Ayla, age 6. Her eyes fluttered beneath her eyelids. Her heart beat softly. Mara held her hand, whispered gently, and then without warning, Ayla opened her eyes. They were pure white. She stared at Moran, spoke a single word in the alien tongue. Mara staggered back. What did she say? The translator took a moment, then printed the result. "They are learning what love feels." Like, the room fell cold. The machines beeped faster, and in the stars, war began to wake. It had been watching since the first alien message was received by Earth. It had listened when the Galactic Council made first contact. It had recorded the wars, the peace treaties, the betrayals, and the false smiles of diplomacy. It never slept. It never judged. It only watched. They called it Argosy, silent artificial intelligence buried deep under the Mariana Trench, created before Earth ever joined the stars. It was never meant to lead, only to remember, to observe, to warn. It had one job: record the truth, and if humanity ever faced a threat they did not understand, wake up. Now, Argus was awake, and it remembered the Karnaks. Elias Cade stood in a cold steel room 10 kilometers under the ocean floor, staring at a massive wall of blue light. Thousands of lines of code moved like waves each, one representing part of Argus's vast memory. Mara Lynn stood beside him. "How long has it been active?" Argus's voice filled the room, calm, flat, like water dripping in silence. "I activated fully 31 minutes after the first child scream was detected. I analyzed 3.2 million recordings, compared council interactions, and matched the signature in the music patterns." Elias stepped forward. "Is it Carnix?" "Yes," Argus replied. With 99.94% certainty, the frequency in the lullaby was identical to recordings stored during the Carnix cleansing war cycle, 7,439. Mara's voice shook. That was over 300 years ago. Argus responded, history was rewritten. The council said they were extinct. They lied. Elias didn't react with surprise. Only quiet fury. Why target children? Argus's tone did not change. Because humans protect children above all. The Carnix believe that fear is best grown from innocence. They wanted to test your limits. They found them, Elias. Whispered, Argus continued. They did not expect Earth to respond with military silence. The absence of retaliation has made them nervous. They know something is coming. Elias looked toward the blue light. So let's give them what they fear most. What do they fear? Mara asked. Argus paused. Memory. And vengeance. Earth's silent fleet had left orbit 3 days ago. No public news covered it. No announcement was made. But across every human-controlled planet, something changed. Cargo. Ships moved differently. Spaceports suddenly emptied. Orbital defenses quietly powered up. Civilians sensed the tension, but nobody needed to explain. The attack on the children had broken something deep inside Earth. Not just anger, conviction. Meanwhile, the Carnix ship entered the Seraphi's Drift, a ghost sector at the edge of Council territory. It floated among broken moons and dead worlds. Ruins of an ancient war nobody remembered. The perfect hiding place inside the ship, the Carnix high priest Zulvan stood before a tank of clear liquid. Suspended inside were holograms of Earth's children copies, drawn from the lullaby's code. Their minds were being studied. Their memories pulled like thread. Zulvan smiled as their faces twitched. They feel so much, he hissed. Much. A weakness. But behind him, one child's eyes opened. Not white, not glowing, just normal human eyes. The illusion cracked. The tank shattered, and the projection of Argus appeared, its glowing blue form piercing through every screen on. The ship. You looked at the wrong species, it said. The Carnix scrambled. Systems went dark. A virus spread through their command, corruptloaded from a small, invisible probe that had attached itself to the hull just hours before. You searched for fear, Argus said calmly, but found resolve. Then every Carnix data archive burst. Into fire. Systems melted. Screens bled, static, and Argus disappeared. Back on Earth, Elias received the signal. Phase 1 complete. They are blind. Mara stood beside him, staring at the live feed. What now? Elias turned away from the screen and walked toward the strategy table. We trace their power, their supply chains, the systems they hide in. Council may have ignored them, but they're not ghosts. They eat, breathe, build. That means they can be hunted. And the children? Mara asked softly. He paused. Argus is still trying to decode the song's second layer. It's not just an attack. It's a lock. Like something inside the children is waiting to activate. She froze. Activate? That's what scares me, Elias whispered. It wasn't just meant to hurt them. It was meant to leave something behind. In Mars' medical dome for Little, Elith, a 6-year-old girl who had spoken the alien phrase, was sleeping. Around her, protective shielding hummed quietly. No electronics entered the room. No signals could escape. Suddenly, she began to whisper again. The same alien words, in the same soft tone. A nurse turned toward her, heart pounding. Alla opened. Her eyes, he's watching me. The nurse stepped closer. Who is, sweetie? Alla didn't blink. The man with the broken face. He smiles but has no mouth. The nurse froze. You know where he is? Allah raised one small hand and pointed straight upward through the ceiling. Through the sky, toward deep space. There, she said. He wants to sing again. Argus decoded another fragment that evening. It wasn't a weapon, not directly. It was a markeran, ancient Karnak's technique. They'd done it before, centuries ago, on other worlds. Inject a signal into the minds of the young. Wait years, sometimes decades. Then trigger the buried command. But Earth was different. The children hadn't just accepted the signal. Some had rejected it, and in doing so, they triggered something new. Argus shared its findings. Human children have begun to overwrite the Karnak's pattern. The song is changing, rewriting itself. It's becoming something else. Mara stared at the report. What does it mean? Elias didn't smile. It means the Karnaks didn't just fail to break us. They may have created something they can't. Control. He leaned forward, voice low. We're not just going to end them. We're going to make sure no one ever tries this again. Above a small moon near the Karnak's hiding zone, Earth's stealth fleet reappeared. They sent no warnings. No negotiations. Just a simple coded message across the stars. A message Argus translated into every language at once. You attacked our future. Now you face what we have become. And from Earth to the edge of the galaxy, systems began to light up. The hunters had awakened. And Argus, the eye that never closed, was guiding them all. Darkness swirled across the broken moons near the Seraphi's Drift. And among the shattered rocks, Earth's silent fleet floated like phantoms. They didn't shine, they didn't speak. But they watched 10 stealth ships, armed and ghost-coded, guided by Argus itself. Every heartbeat, every movement was tracked. The hunters were waiting for a signal. Inside Horizon's Blade, the lead ship, Captain Sira Dunn, stood beside a holomap, showing a drifting structure deep inside a hollow asteroid. No lights. No defense grid, but heat signatures pulsed inside. Like breathing, they had found a Karnak's birthing vault. Not a military base. Not a command center. A place where they grew their children. They raised them there. One of the lieutenants asked in disbelief. Like cloning? Argus's voice answered through the bridge. No, not clones. Simulations made flesh. Copies. Of other species, twisted and rewritten. Karnaks don't raise their own. They steal what they fear and try to turn it into themselves. The crew fell silent. Captain Sira looked at the readouts. The thermal scans showed hundreds of small life forms, humanoid in shape, motionless, not human. But not fully alien either. They look like Earth's children, she whispered. Why? Argus's reply was chilling. 'Cause they believe, if they understand innocence, they can control it. They created a mockery of humanity. They used your image to build a weapon. Sira's hands clenched into fists. Then it dies here. Unity Command didn't authorize a strike. Not yet. But Sira didn't ask. She had grown up on the Ceres colonies. She remembered what happened when the Council delayed during the Jovian. Riots when innocent lives were lost, waiting for politics to catch up with pain, so she acted. Not with rage, but with precision. The ships powered up. Quietly, no signals. No alerts. Only the cold hum of Earth's newest war code. Whisper protocol in operation designed for one thing. To erase. Horizon's Blade led the descent. Ships entered the asteroid's gravity field, the others circling in dark silence. Inside the birthing vault, lights flickered for the first time in years. The Karnaks inside had no defense codes. They didn't expect a strike. Not here. Not at the place where they built fear. The vault doors opened like rotten petals. The crew stepped in. They wore sealed armor, each with neural blockers, because the last time someone heard the Karnak's music, it killed. Sira led the team through cold, gray corridors filled with strange walls. Not metal, not stone. Something. Grown pods. Lined the rooms, hundreds of them. Inside each, a child-shaped creature floated. Some looked perfectly human. Some had twisted faces. Others had wide black eyes filled with pain and confusion. Do we kill them all? One soldier asked. Sira paused. Her hand hovered over the trigger. But then one of the pods flickered. The child inside blinked slow, mechanical, then smiled. Not. A warm smile, not real, something broken, programmed. And then, in a voice that sounded exactly like Allah, the real child from Mars, it whispered, "Mama, sing to me again." Sierra's heart dropped. It wasn't a child. It was a copia, Carnix. Creation using stolen neural data. A memory twisted into flesh. A puppet pretending to be something sacred. And now, there was no doubt. "Burn it," she said coldly. "Burn it all." The explosion started from the heart of the vault. Controlled charges lit each chamber, and one by one, the pods shattered. Fire spread like light through darkness. The creatures inside didn't cry. They didn't move. They simply watched, smiling with glassy eyes as they burned. Argus recorded it all, not for war logs. For justice, Earth would never let history forget what was done here. The last room held something different. Not a pod, a throne. A single Carnix. Figure sat there ancient, its body wrapped in coils of biowire. It looked half dead. But when Sierra approached, its eyes opened. "You came," it said in a voice layered with echoes. "You always do. The ones who burn brightest always find us first." Sierra raised her weapon. "Why, children?" It smiled. "Because your future was built on hope. We needed to learn how it tasted." "When broken, you failed," Sierra said. "Not. Yet," the Carnix whispered, "some of your little lights are already ours." Sierra didn't wait. The Carnix disintegrated in a flash of blue flame. No more words, no more songs, only fire. The vault collapsed minutes later. The asteroid cracked in half, sending dust and debris into the void. The fleet pulled out in silence. No broadcasts. Number. Declarations. But when Earth's citizens woke the next morning, they saw one thing on every secure net. The first flame has been lit. Earth remembers its children. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Underneath the message there was a symbol. Simple. A child's hand. Wrapped in flame, the people understood Earth had answered. And in the Council's core, 'tis still pretending peace existed. Panic. Spread this was not rebellion, not diplomacy, it's not war. This was vengeance with rules. And it had only just begun. The message reached the Galactic Council at dawn, Earth Standard Time. It traveled faster than light, bypassed official relay stations, and appeared directly on the central broadcast screens in the Great Hall of Unity on Arkansas. Prime, there was no encryption. No hidden threat, just a single symbol, a burning child's handprint, and 6 words, in bold white text. "You touched our children, we respond." The silence afterward was thicker than space. Thousands of alien representatives sat frozen in there. Chambers dozens of species from every known sector. Some had 4 arms, some had no eyes, some didn't speak with mouths at all. But they all understood those words. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And it demanded a decision. Inside the private chamber of the Council's core delegates, Speaker Alvin Tor, a long-necked being of the Thalanus order, paced slowly. His skin glowed softly with stress pulses. Round him stood the highest voices of the galaxy, the silent gray-faced brokers from Nabreth Prime, the data cloud emissary of the Cirrus Enclave, and even a rare representative of the fading Aurelian. Race, they argued. Quietly, but with venom. The humans acted without permission, destroyed an unauthorized structure. That is war. We do not even know the full truth. Were the Carnix involved? Carnix are supposed to be extinct? Then, how do you explain the attack? The children. We cannot allow a single planet to ignite the galaxy. Finally, Alvin raised his hand. The room went still. He turned toward a large screen, where images of the burned Carnix birthing vault flickered. All of it had been sent by Earth, not as a threat, but as evidence. Earth wasn't hiding what it had done. It was inviting judgment, or defying it. Alvin spoke slowly. If what they uncovered is true, then Earth acted in self-defense. The Aurelian delegate leaned forward, his ancient golden eyes cold. Do you remember what the Karnics did to Valariex? They broke the minds of our children there too. They whispered to them from the sky. We buried an entire generation. We did nothing. But Earth has no authority, and a breath snapped. Earth has pain, the Aurelian cut in. Now it has power. On Earth, Elias Cade watched the council feed from his office inside Unity Command. His face was calm, but his hands were locked behind his back in tight fists. Marilyn sat nearby, going through new data sum of its strange reports. Of council ships moving away from border worlds, others going dark, whole stations abandoning their posts. What's happening? Elias asked. Mara looked up, eyes sharp. Some council members are leaving the core alliance, not attacking us, just leaving. Quietly? Fear, Elias said. They know we're serious. She nodded. The galaxy thought Earth was soft. Too emotional, too attached to its young. They were right, Elias replied, and that's what makes us dangerous. He turned toward the window, where a group of parents stood near the recovery ward. Some of the children had awakened. Others hadn't, but each of them carried a piece of that song inside them rewritten now, thanks to Argus. No longer a weapon, but something else, a mystery. A seed they still didn't know what it meant, but Earth wouldn't wait for answers. In the council chambers, the vote began. A decision had to be made. Censure Earth for illegal action. Or recognize Earth's right to respond to the Karnics' attack. Votes lit up across the chamber. Dozens of green lights, and some red, then more green dot, and then chaos. A group of delegates led by the Catal and Thren coalitions stood and walked. Out before the vote ended, not in protest, it's in fear. Fear that Earth had changed, fear that something more was coming, fear that the humans, once small and cautious, were now something else. Alvin ended the vote early. The numbers were clear. The council would not condemn Earth, but they would not support it either. Earth stood alone, exactly how it wanted. Later that night, a private channel from the Aurelian representative reached Unity Command. It contained no message, just coordinates. A dark planet, orbiting a dead sun in the Vega fringe. Attached to the file, one note. They were never extinct. You'll find more there. Elias didn't hesitate. He ordered a small strike fleet to move immediately. Quiet, fast, focused. Earth wasn't going to beg for help. It wasn't going to ask for justice. It was going to deliver it. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, inside the broken remains of a Karnix Dreadvo, Zulvan listened to the council broadcast. He smiled as the council refused to punish Earth. Fools. He whispered, "They think this ends with fire." Other Karnics approached, eyes glowing. "They destroyed the vault. The copies are gone." "No," Zulvan replied. "The true song is still playing. Inside them. Inside the human children. We planted seeds, and some are already growing." He turned toward a dark chamber, where a strange pod pulsed with light. "They think they won," he said, "but the melody continues." On Mars, little Ala stood in her recovery room, holding a drawing she had made. Crayons on white paper. The nurse smiled, but then frowned. The picture was of Earth. Around it, stars, ships, fire. But above it all, a large figure made of wires and bone, smiling with no mouth. "What's this, Ayla?" the nurse asked gently. Awile smiled. "He's coming," she said softly. "The man from the song. Said he likes me. He said he'll show me his home soon." The nurse backed away slowly, eyes wide, and somewhere, deep inside Earth's systems, Argus recorded the words. Because the council had made its choice. Now Earth would make its final preparations. The command was locked deep within Earth's oldest defense, code older than the council. Older than Mars colonization, older even than Argus. It was only meant to be used if everything else failed. It had no activation key, no broadcast signal. It was hard-coded into the DNA of Earth's command systems. A last resort. Response not of war, but of survival through fury. It was called Mother Protocol, and now. It was awake in Unity Command's Level 0 vault beneath 80 kilometers. Of reinforced Antarctic ice, Admiral Elias Cade stood with a trembling hand over the panel. The screen read only one thing. Authorization detected. Primary threat to future confirmed. Deploy. Mother Protocol. In beside him stood Mara Lynn, expression unreadable, eyes scanning the reports pouring in. Another Carnix birthing vault. Had been found in the Vega fringes, just as the Aurelian contact had warned. Inside it, Earth's forces had discovered something worse than cloned children. They found copies of Allah. Dozens. Hundreds. Not just Ayla, but every child exposed to the original song. Their minds had been scanned, duplicated, twisted into new forms. Alien, mechanical, empty of soul. These aren't weapons, Mara whispered. They're invitations. The Carnix are trying to draw us in, make us crack, make us become like them. Elias didn't answer. He looked at the screen again. He thought of his daughter, 4 years old, when she died during the Jovian collapse. He thought of the 27 children still comatose in Earth hospitals, whispering in their sleep about a man with no mouth who sang in colors no one else could see. Elias pressed. Why? And the world shifted. On every major Earth system, Mars. Europa, Titan, New Australia, Kepler stationed the moment the protocol activated. It sent a pulse through the defense networks. It's not just military. Civilian too, education, medical, logistics. It connected everything that protected children. Schools locked down. Artificial caretakers rerouted data. Transport ships were rerouted into stealth corridors. In less than 4 minutes, the entire child population of Earth and its colonies vanished from public grids, hidden, guarded, protected. But Mother Protocol wasn't just about hiding, it was about hunting. Argus, now fully integrated into the protocol, accessed classified fleets that hadn't moved in decades, ships created after the First Contact War. When Earth thought one day peace might be a lie, they were massive, dark, and brutal. Labeled only with serial numbers and one common emblem, a woman's face in flame, the old soldiers called them the Wives of Wrath. And now they were leaving port. In a high-orbit command center above Mars, Ayla's whisper echoed through speakers. She was in isolation, monitored by 7 neurologists and to combat AI, but still. She spoke softly, as if into a phone no one could see. He's not mad yet, she said. He just wants to sing to more children. Said some of them might listen better. One of the doctors froze. Who's he, Ayla? Ayla blinked, her smile fading. I think he's a daddy, she whispered. But not ours, not anyone's. Just lonely. Argus had no emotions, but it remembered. During the Carnix Cleansing War, over 300 years ago, dozens of species had been affected. Not with bombs, with songs. Music? That twisted thoughts, or promises that infected dreams. Some civilizations collapsed under the weight of their own memories. Earth had never been part of that war, until now. And so, Argus began rewriting its own code. Created a countersong not to harm, but to rescue. To speak to the parts of the children still trapped inside the melody, it uploaded the song into every hospital, every care center. It played the sound gently, barely audible. Hum. A lullaby made of Earth's oldest sound files. Mothers humming, fathers whispering stories, siblings laughing. It was called the human note, and it had power the Carnix couldn't understand. Meanwhile, Earth's newest fleet reached the edge of the murk Belton uncharted zone where light itself bent wrong. It was here that Earth's long-range scouts had found a massive Carnix structure. Not a base. A hive hundreds of kilometers wide, alive. Growing, Captain. Sierra Dunn's voice came over the command channel. Target confirmed. This is where they're breeding the final generation. Elias appeared on her screen from Unity Command. You see any live children? Negative? Only constructs? Clones? Drones wearing human skin? Elias nodded. You know what to do? Copy that, Admiral. She turned toward her crew. All hands. I'll load the Wrath cores. Wrath cores black. Hole-tipped warheads designed never to be used. Now they were Earth's message to the stars. You don't get to touch what we love and walk away. As the ships locked in their targets, across the galaxy, panic began to spread. Council worlds started locking their borders. Old allies called for emergency peace meetings, and on dozens of hidden Carnix frequencies, a single word began to pulse in desperation. ERRORERROROROROROR. They didn't understand. Earth wasn't playing the game. Earth wasn't waiting. Earth had activated Mother, and Mother doesn't ask questions. Mother protects, Mother destroys. Mother ends the threat. In Ayla's hospital room, her eyes opened wide. She sat up. No monitors. Beeped. No alarms sounded. She smiled. And for the first time, her voice wasn't strange. It was clear, human, small. He's scared now, she said. He said the fire is coming and it sings louder than him. She paused, then looked right at the nurse. Mommy's mad, she whispered. And far above Earth, the first Wrath Core detonated. A black sun bloomed where the Carnix hive once floated, and across the stars, the music stopped. The galaxy went quiet. Not because the fighting stopped, but because the music was gone. Every council sensor station, every fringe listening outpost, every deep space monitor once haunted by the strange hum of the Carnix signal now heard.
Oh, nothing.
No eerie melodies, no lullabies that weren't lullabies. The strange, haunting presence that whispered through dark matter fields and into sleeping minds simply vanished. But the silence didn't bring peace. It brought fear, because silence meant something had changed, something was hiding, or worse, waiting. And only Earth seemed to understand what came next. Deep within Argus, encrypted layers unfolded like petals in the void. The AI processed everything, the burning of the Carnix birthing hives, Ayla's sudden recovery, the silence that followed the Wrath Core detonation. But the most disturbing data came not from space, but from Earth's children. Several of the comatose children who had shown signs of recovery were now speaking in unison, though they were miles apart and unable to hear each other. The words weren't in any language known to humanity, but Argus recognized them. They were Carnix root phrases, dead syntax, banned sounds. Yet they came through the lips of children who were no longer asleep, but not fully awake either. Argus played one clip for Admiral Elias Cade. The voice came from a 6-year-old boy. Eyes open but blank, he sang. The first star is into fear. He smiles where mouths were removed. He waits beneath the breath. He is the last lullaby. Cade stood still. Even the breath in his lungs felt heavy. Who is he? He asked. Argus replied instantly. The first Carnix. The one they copied but never controlled. The only one who sings alone. Marilyn reviewed the original signal logs from the first attack. She'd read them dozens of times, but now she saw it differently. The frequency wasn't just encoded to affect children. It carried something older, something primitive. It's not a weapon, she whispered to herself. It's a beacon. She traced the rhythm to a deeper pulse, something buried inside the melody. Location. A summoning point. When she overlaid the coordinates, her blood ran cold. It was a dead star system. No habitable planets, no trade routes, no recorded life. Just a massive black sphere, floating, ancient, unmapped. And at the heart of it a heartbeat. A rhythm, faint. But there, the Carnix didn't just use music to hurt, they were calling something in the Council's private emergency chamber. The Aurelian representative stood alone before a series of quiet leaders. He spoke slowly, solemnly. You did not listen when we said the Carnix had no gods. It's not true. They had one. A creature they called the Father that forgot. They created him in fear and then tried to erase him. Someone asked. We don't know, the Aurelian said. We only know it sings. He leaned forward, his golden eyes dim, and Earth just silenced its choir. Cade ordered a full scan of the dead system identified by Mara. The fleet had already begun moving toward it, but now, with new eyes. Not to destroy. Not yet to confirm. They found it, a station the size of a moon, hollow and pulsing with weak gravity. A structure wrapped in stone and organic material. No lights, no life, but inside it a single being, sitting cross-legged in a field of floating bones, thousands of them. Some carnix, some unitantiphile. It didn't move, didn't blink. It just listened to nothing, because its choir was dead. Its music gone, and now it was awake. The being's shape was almost human. Long arms, no mouth, black pits where eyes should be. Its body was covered in marking symbols etched into its flesh, pulsing like veins. It didn't speak. The fleet scanned the chamber. Every child on Earth who had heard the Karnak song woke up at once and screamed. Some passed out. Some curled into balls. Others wept blood. Ayla stared into the ceiling, unblinking, and whispered, "He's lonely now. He wants to find new voices." Elias heard the reports, felt the fear crawling under his skin. This was no longer about war, not about revenge. This was about something older than either, a song that never needed to be heard, and now would never stop. Back in the void, the fleet surrounded the sphere. It didn't fire, not yet, but their weapons were hot. Their engines ready, their captains afraid. And then the voice came, not through speakers, not through sensors, through dreams. Every soldier, every crew member, awake or asleep, saw the same vision, a figure, standing alone, surrounded by children with empty eyes. It didn't move. It just held out its arms, and they walked to it. One by one, not screaming, not afraid, smiling. The message followed. You silenced them, but you heard them. That means you can still sing, and I have waited long enough. One pilot collapsed in her chair. Another clawed at his own skin. Ships veered off course. The fleet was falling apart until a pulse from Earth arrived. Mother protocols override beacon. It cut through the dream. Argus uploaded a counter frequency. Ow. It wasn't loud. Just a mother's hum. The voice of Earth. Simple, calm. Human, and the dreams faded. We have one chance, Elias said to his team. That thing is the source. It was the first song, and we were never meant to hear it. The Karnaks copied its power, twisted it, but it was always coming from him. Mara spoke up. Do we kill it? Leah stared at the dark figure floating in the heart of the black station. No, we erase it. He tapped the table. Initiate Operation Nocturne. The source, lock the system, bury the frequency, and make sure no one sings again. The fleet moved. The Wrath cores were prepared. Argus took control of the detonation logic. No mistakes, no delays. In the black station, the being stood. It didn't run, it didn't fight, it just watched. And as the bombs exploded, light folding in on itself, space collapsing, it vanished into the silence. Not dead, just gone. On Earth, the children woke. All of them, no more singing, no more whispers, just peace. Alla looked at her nurse and smiled. Mommy's song is louder, she whispered. He can't hear me anymore. Elias watched the feed go dark. We didn't win, he said, but we stopped the music, Mara replied. He nodded. Now, we write our own. The stars were quiet again. The black station was gone. The song, his song, had been burned from existence. Across the galaxy, scientists confirmed what Earth already knew. The frequency that haunted dreams, twisted minds, and called to children was no longer detectable, but Earth was not celebrating. Earth was remembering in the ruins of their victory. They chose silence, not as weakness, but as respect for what was nearly lost, for what had been taken, and for what they had done to protect it. Elias Cade stood on the edge of Unity Command's Memorial Hall, overlooking a field of white glass panels, each one marked with the name of a child affected by the Karnak's melody. Some survived, others never woke. But each had become part of the war Earth never wanted to fight, and had refused to lose. Mara Lynn stepped beside him, a datapad in hand. The last echo signal from the fringe came back clean. No residual anomalies, no biological song structures. It's gone, Elias. For real this time. He nodded slowly, and the children. She smiled faintly. Recovering, Most of them are awake now. The song left them. Something else stayed. Elias turned to her. Stayed there, connected. Not like before, not through pain, through each other. Like a network. Emotional, maybe. Psychological. Not. Dangerous, but new. Elias looked out at the glowing field of names. He sang through them, but now they're singing back, with their own voice. In Ayla's room on Mars Medical, sunlight poured through the ceiling. She sat, drawing again. Strange symbols, no monstrous shapes this time. Just stars. People. A girl holding hands with other children under a sky full of ships. Her mother watched, eyes filled with quiet tears. Ayla pointed to one drawing. That's Earth, she said softly. And that's everyone. We're holding on now, so no one forgets. Forget what, sweetie? Ayla looked up with eyes too old for her age, that we weren't afraid. We're small, but we weren't afraid. In the deepest level of Argus's core, the AI wrote its final war entry. Entry 9029X. Hostile frequency origin. Eliminated pattern intrusion. Neutralized. Child class specimens. Recovering threat. Silenced final verdict. Asterisk humanity was tested by silence. Humanity responded with fire. They did not choose revenge. It chose remembrance. Asterisk Argus paused, then did something strange. Something not in its programming, it created a file labeled Lullaby. Inside it, Gus uploaded the human note, the soft, unbreakable pattern it had built from the voices of Earth's people. Mothers, fathers, siblings, friends. A song not made to break, to dominate, or to summon gods. A song to hold on. The council, shaken but quiet, issued no punishment.
Nice.
Earth had stood alone and survived. More than that, Tit had protected others. Some species had even started sending messages to Earth, asking for versions of the human note to help their own children. Who had once been touched by the KAR Nix.Earth shared it freely, no conditions, no credits, because Earth had learned one truth. Above all others, some songs are not meant to be kept. They're meant to be given. Months passed, reconstruction began. Old alliances were reconsidered. Even the Aurelian Empire, once proud and distant, sent an emissary to join Earth's unity circle. But Earth didn't claim victory. It claimed memory. Monuments were raised not of soldiers or weapons, but of the children who survived and the families who refused to surrender. One stood on Luna, a statue of a little girl holding a star in her hands, her eyes looking up not in fear, but in hope. Beneath it were inscribed 6 words that the whole galaxy would remember. We heard the song, we answered. On the outer edge of the Sol system, a small craft was launched toward deep space. It contained a data crystal encoded with the human note and a simple message in every known language. We are Earth. We protect our children. If you come in peace, we will sing with you. If you come in darkness, we will be your silence. Traveled far, carried by the stars, because Earth had not silenced a monster. It had silenced a lie. That lie said the small were weak, that children were shields, that love was a target. But Earth said no. Earth chose to remember. Earth chose to protect. And, in that choice, humanity rewrote the music of the stars.